If you're preparing for the GMAT, you've heard people talk about the GMAT OG. The OG stands for the official guide. You keep hearing people say they practiced an OG question or that they have a doubt in the question. Now, I'm sure you have doubts about what the GMAT OG is. So this is your primer on everything the GMAT official guide. We're going to break down what the series of books are, what the OG stands for, where you can get it, and most importantly, how best to use the OG to facilitate your GMAT preparation. Right, so let's get started understanding what is the GMAT OG. The term OG stands for official guide. Now, as the name suggests, this is the official set of practice questions, a guidebook essentially that has been released by the test makers, which is the GMAC. Now, these are previous year retired GMAT questions, and therein lies their value, right? You can see that if you are taking the GMAT, just like you used to solve previous year papers when you were preparing for your board exams or school exams, now you have the official guide, which is going to help you prepare for the GMAT using actual GMAT questions. So what is the official guide and where can you get it? Now, there are two versions of the official guide. You have the ebook or the online version, which you can get on the official website, which is mba.com. Now, you also have the book version that's available in India. So most booksellers like Amazon and Flipkart will have the official guide. If you have the book version, you need to look at the inside front cover of the book version. There will be a scratch code. You can use a scratch code to also access the online question bank on mba.com. This is highly important and this is crucial because most people miss one thing. See, this official guide covers questions from all three sections of the GMAT, right? You have questions from quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, and data insights. Now, look at some of the data insights question types. You have the tables questions, which requires you to use a sorting feature on the tables, not possible in a book format. You have graphical interpretation questions, which have a drop-down menu in the question itself, again not possible in the book format, and you have multi-source reasoning questions, which have these different tabs, again not possible to present it in a book format, at least in a manner that is representative of the test. So this is key. This is a question that I've been asked by dozens of our students. Why doesn't the book version of the official guide I have any of these three data insights question types? I don't see tables, I don't see graphs, I don't see multi-source reasoning. Where do I practice it from? You absolutely have all of those questions in the online version. They want to stay true to the test when they give you those practice questions. That's especially what the scratch code is for. You need to ensure that you use a scratch code to also access the material, the online question bank on mba.com, even if you buy the book version. Having said that, how many questions do you get from the official guide? Well, actually, this is a family of books. You have 4 books in total. You have the main official guide, which is just called the official guide, and this humongous book that has over 970 questions, nearly 1,000 questions practiced across all 3 sections of the GMAT. The latest edition of the official guide is called the 2025-26 edition. So it is hyphenated between the 2 years. And that's because the official guide is usually released somewhere in the middle of the calendar year. So you have the June approximately 2025 to approximately June 2026 edition. Right? Now, I mentioned it's a family of 4 books. What are the other 3 books? You have section-specific review books. You have a book called Quantitative Review, has approximately 230 additional questions in the latest edition, You have the Verbal Review, which has around 275 plus questions, and then Data Insights Review, which has another 275 questions. The review books are mainly used for people who want additional practice in a section. So if you want to work on your weak area, then you definitely need to get the review book. You also have the option of going for bundle pricing, which is definitely the cheaper option, irrespective of whether you go for the book edition or whether you go for the online ebook edition directly from mba.com. Should I go for the book edition or the online edition? Which one is better? Especially if I need to use a scratch code and go back to mba.com, should I just go for the ebook version? There are a couple of factors for you to keep in mind here as you make this decision about the online versus offline version. Number 1, look at your comfort area when it comes to how you like to practice questions. Some of you might be more comfortable just doing everything on the computer. Some of you, because of some of your prep schedule, or because of what you feel comfortable, you may want to work with pen and paper. If you like working with pen and paper, or you're in a position where you're not able to use the computer all the time to work on your preparation, then you might be better off getting the book edition. Even if you get the book edition, I would recommend that you do at least some practice questions, like save 30% of the questions for practicing online, so that you are familiarizing yourself with how the questions are presented in the actual GMAT. At the end of the day, there is no paper and pen version of the GMAT. The other factor in consideration is that the book version is just cheaper than the ebook plus the online question bank version. You get the same material, but it's a cheaper access. A third factor to keep into consideration, the online edition, when you buy it, usually gives you an access validity for 1 year. But of course, if you have the book edition, then that's with you forever. Now let's talk about which edition of the official guide you should be buying, because they release an edition every year. Should you be going for the latest edition? As much as possible, absolutely. Especially because the GMAT changed patterns in late 2023, only the last couple of editions of the official guide are representative for the Focus Edition, or the present version of the GMAT. If you have a hand-me-down, your brother prepared for the GMAT in 2020 and you have the 2020 official guide, are the questions still relevant in terms of difficulty level to the present version of the GMAT? Provisionally, yes. The problem is not so much the representativeness in terms of the difficulty level. If you take the critical reasoning questions in that, they probably are still good questions to practice with. But you're going to have grammar and sentence correction questions thrown in the verbal portion, which are no longer tested in the current version of the GMAT. And the higher difficulty is within quantitative reasoning. You have data sufficiency questions, which are now part of data insights. You have geometry questions, and then those are not tested in the GMAT, and you need to worry about, is this a geometry question? Is this a co-geo question? What is tested? What is not tested? You waste a lot of time just trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. So you are better off getting one of the later editions of the GMAT. You have tons more practice questions that are relevant to the current format in which the GMAT is testing you. One final note about the information and the kinds of questions that you have in the official guide before we start talking about how to use it. The questions, both in the online practice database and in the book format, are classified according to difficulty, broadly into 3 levels of difficulty: easy, medium, and hard. If you start with a section, you will typically start with the easy questions and progress to medium and hard. In earlier editions of the official guide, this is one more reason you should use the current book version. In earlier editions of the official guide, they didn't explicitly tell you which questions were classified under easy, which ones under medium, and so on. They just said it gets progressively more difficult. But with the official guide's books that are specifically released for the Focus Edition, you have a nice little heading that tells you, here are the easy questions, here are the medium ones. And it gives you that idea as to what level of difficulty questions you're able to answer accurately and in what time. It gives that much more sense and structure to your practice. Now, how should you use the official guide? First off, this is highly important. The official guide is not the place for you to learn theory. Yes, there are a couple of pages discussing how to answer a CR question, or there are a couple of pages telling you the different formulae in the math section, but those are nowhere near enough for you to grasp the concepts that you need in order to master them and in order to do very well in the GMAT. Just looking at a couple of pages of formulae is not going to tell you why you got a question wrong and what concept you're supposed to apply there and what higher advanced mathematics you need to bring. So the official guide is not the place to learn your fundamentals. It is a place for you to take the concepts that you have learned and apply them. So as you begin your GMAT preparation, you can source the official guide so that you have it handy, but do not start by practicing with the official guide. Start learning your concepts in a structured manner. Go for a self-paced course, a private tutor, a classroom program, a live online program, whatever helps you learn the concepts. Is just understand the depth that you will get in a classroom environment, which you might not get from the official guide. What the official guide covers in 4 pages, we do over 72 hours in a live online program. World of difference to the fundamentals that you learn. But once you learn the fundamentals, a few weeks into the program, about 1/3 of the way into your preparation, that's when the official guide starts to come in. Let's say you've learned the concepts, you've learned how to do CR weekend questions and done a few weekend questions with your prep material. And then CR strengthened questions and then how to solve strengthened questions with your prep material. So you have the basic understanding of all of the CR question types. Now it's time to take the official guide. Let's start working on CR medium level difficulty questions. If you want, you can start with easy level difficulty questions. I would recommend starting with easy level questions for topics that you have trouble with when you're learning your fundamentals. For topics where you feel like you've had a grasp of the fundamentals, start with the medium difficulty questions. Once you do the medium difficulty questions, you can scale up to the higher difficulty ones. So you do this chapter by chapter, topic area by topic area. As you learn the concepts, with your prep material, you go back and apply them in the official guide. Don't just check whether you got the correct answer, do an in-depth analysis. One of the good things about the official guide is they discuss each answer option in detail, irrespective of whether it's right or wrong. So it's a great way for you to learn why you're making the mistakes that you're making and how you could have solved even the correct ones in a better manner. Don't do all of your questions before you take your first mock. Save about 10 to 15% of the questions to do between mocks. So you do about 80% of the official guide. You take the first mock. You analyze where you have done your mistakes and what you need to improve on. And then you go back to using the official guide to iron out the weak areas before you take the second mock. So let's say you're looking at a 3-month study plan. You don't spend the first month on the official guide. The first month is on learning your fundamentals. The first month is on practicing topic by topic, minor topic by topic, chapter by chapter. It's not where you learn quantitative reasoning. It's where you learn inequalities, where you learn number properties. Once you're done with that, you move on to the official guide in the second month. This is when you do the main load of your practice, and then you take your mocks in the third month. And you space out and practice your official guide in between. There are detailed study plan videos on our channel. In fact, Bhaskar released a video recently. Depending on how you score in the diagnostic, he's walked you through 3 different study plans. So remember that the official guide is used in the mid 30% of your preparation cycle. That's the best place to use it. Now, one final thing for you to remember, definitely get the Data Insights review book. There aren't a lot of practice questions for DI out there. If you go to a forum, you will find a bunch of other CR questions or quantitative reasoning questions, mostly posted from older official guides. People still discuss them because people still derive value out of them. DI is the baby in the GMAT world. So there aren't a lot of DI practice questions in older editions of the official guide, and therefore not a lot of them discussed in forums. So even if you feel that you don't need the verbal review book and the quantitative review book and you're fine with the main official guide alone, my strong recommendation is that you also get the Data Insights review book so that you have adequate practice material for this crucial and slightly tougher section of the GMAT.